Morning, guys. So last class we seen the shear force in a bending, shear force in a beam of a I section, B section, and a rectangle section. Today we are going to see about the stress concentration. So what is stress concentration? Before going to that, so what is stress? So what is stress? What? Force by area. So usually we consider a continuous section with an axial force, axial load. We say the stress is equal to F by A, right? So this case only suited for the continuous section without any discontinuity. Or we made an assumption, right? So if it is axial, there will be no other loads will be act on the beam. That means no compression, no bending, no shear. And also the material is homogeneous and isotropic, and also it is a continuous beam. There is no discontinuity in the beam, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
But in the real case, the practical case, it will not be possible. It's not possible, right? So how can you design something with a continuous structure? Then what happened to this formula? It's no use, right? Then what we will do? And it is difficult and also mostly impossible to predict numerically the discontinuity structure, the stress in a discontinuity structure. Even though we use the finite element method or finite element analysis. So what is finite element method?
Finite element method.
Yeah, finite element, FEM. Finite element method.
Has like the less porosity. Like it has.
Yeah, we divide this section and we identify the stress in each point. Even though in that case, it is very difficult to identify the exact stress in the discontinuity body or any structure or component. There are some practical experiments to detect these stresses. So those are the first one, photoelasticity. So they use a polarized plate to identify a stress in a structure. So they pass the light on any component, they identify the stress. Similarly, what we do in the structural analysis. When you do a structural analysis, what you get? So when we have a structure, so we are going to analyze the stress and the strain parameter or a deflection parameter of this component. So what we do? So we design a component, we mesh it, and we give a boundary condition. That means the value we know, the force or any other parameters we know. And finally, we get the graphical image. Graphical image, right? Can you able to understand what I'm saying? It looks like I'm talking in some alien language. So like this. Okay, so we get a graphical image. So it shows the high stress point and low stress point depending upon the condition, the boundary condition. The boundary condition is the value we know. So if we know the value of force, we will input the value. So that is called a boundary condition. So it gives the graphical image. Similarly, in photoelasticity method, so it gives the graphical image or the high stress and low stress point. Okay. The another method is the strain gauge method. So what is strain gauge? Strain gauge.
Strain gauge. In the thing,
Yes.
small thing.
Yeah, the electrical strain gauge. We have an electrical strain gauge used to detect the what? Sensor. Yeah, strain gauge is sensor. So it detects the deformation or deflection. Sorry, not deflection, deformation. So from that deformation, we can able to calculate the stress in a discontinuous structure or a component. Okay. So another one is the brittle coating. So they coat, they say it's like a ceramic coating or a brittle coating. They coat on the component, they apply the force, and they find where the stress increases with the, because brittle material fracture easily. So because of that, they use this method to identify the stress, the critical stress at a point. Okay, these are the few methods we can able to identify the stress in a component. Okay. So, but we need to, as a mathematics, as a scientist, as a researcher, we need to identify theoretically. Right? Is it correct? Yeah. So, and also we need to know how they evaluate those stress and strain parameter. Okay. So now I make a small hole in this section. Okay. What happens here at this point? Same image. Why stress rises at this portion or this section?
The area is smaller.
What?
The area is smaller.
Area is smaller. Yeah. So if the area is smaller, what happens then?
Stress increase.
Stress increase. Why?
Because it's force over area.
Yeah. So it's a formula you can say like force over area. But it's a real case. We can say just like area decreases, it will increases. So it affects the stress flow. So it disturbs the stress flow. If some area or some discontinuity disturbs the stress flow, it will affect the neighboring area. Okay? Okay. So we say the stress is critical in this area, right? Because the section, in this section the area is reduced. Right? So when we find the stress in this area, it's called a stress nominal. It's called a nominal stress. Okay? So due to this discontinuity or due to this hole, the stress in this region increases. So that is called a maximum stress. So we need to know the maximum stress of any discontinuity section or a component. For that, we are going to calculate the stress concentration parameter K. So K is evaluated as the ratio of sigma max by sigma naught. Sigma naught is the nominal stress. So nominal stress can be evaluated from the least area, the lowest area of the section. Okay? Okay, sir? So I will draw a section. Okay. Then we have a nominal stress here. So this is some section, okay? So we have some force. The critical stress or maximum stress, where the maximum stress will occur at this section. So in this section, the maximum stress, the critical area is here, right? Because suddenly the area is decreased. So this portion have a nominal stress, right? So the maximum stress will occur. So where the maximum stress will occur? So we have a stress flow, right? Stress flow like this. But suddenly we have a change in the area. the stress flow has to redirect, right? So it will move like this. So these regions have a maximum stress. Okay, sir. So we are going to identify the maximum stress at these components. Okay.
Sir, can you
Yes.
re-explain the straight knot? So straight knot is the smallest area of the.
Nominal stress.
So based on the diagram, can you show me again the straight knot?
Based on the diagram?
Based on the figure. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you want? The nominal stress.
Yeah.
So nominal stress is the stress act at the smallest area. So in these cases, the smallest area will be in this region, right? This section. Is that correct? So if we find the stress in this area, that's called as a nominal stress. So what is the area of this one? So if I say the thickness of the plate T equal to 2, sorry, you can consider thickness is D. Okay, area. So the diameter of this one is D. The diameter is D, and we need to find the area. So how will you calculate? So if I say this one is W, right? So total length is W. W minus D. So I will find this length, right? Into T. T is the thickness. So I can write the nominal stress equal to F by W minus D by T. Okay? But originally here F by W into T. Is that correct? The stress at this region. Okay, sir?
Sir, so the T is the
Thickness.
thickness.
Yeah. So if you want to find the area, you need to do 2 dimensional, right?
Three dimension.
2 dimensional, 3 dimensional, if you go 3 dimensions, volume. Okay? So we will solve some problem, you will understand. So the Peterson is a guy who already studied on the stress concentrate of different sections or different parts. So he evaluated and he found all the values of stress concentration parameter and he tabulated everything. So only thing we want to know is like how it changes, how the discontinuous happens. So we need to identify that one, and using this Peterson stress concentration factor, we can evaluate the maximum stress. Okay, so he already worked on different structures, more than 100 structures. In the book you can see table A15 to 20. So you can see a lot of structures, how the discontinuous happens and how the KT value, stress concentration parameters, can be evaluated. So here 2 examples are given. So one is a flat plate or a thin plate with a hole, and another is the 2 different sections. The area of the section is suddenly changing. Okay, so if we want to calculate the KT value of a thin plate with a hole, the same example we seen previously. So if we have a thin plate with a hole, okay, first thing we need to know the value of D by W. This is D by W. Okay, D is the diameter of the hole and W is the width. Okay, first thing we need to identify that one. So let's consider D equal to 5 and W is equal to 10. So what is the D by W value? 5 by 10, right? Equal to 0.5. So where is 0.5? This one, right? So I will find this KT value is 2 by 2. Okay? So if we know the hole dimension, the diameter of the hole and the width of the component, we can able to identify the stress concentration factor. Okay? Similarly for this section, so we have several curves. So for that we need to determine d by d value and r by d value. So for this section we have a so this is called a fillet, right? This is called fillet or, and this one is small d and this one is capital D. So why we use a fillet? This is called fillet, right? Why we use fillet?
To reduce the sudden change.
Sudden change to reduce the stress concentration, right? So what happens if we don't use a fillet?
Concentrate the stress actually.
If the stress increase, what happens?
Break.
Break. So you need to say technically. So how will you say technically? So if the stress concentration or stress at the point is very high, if it reaches to the ultimate stress or ultimate strain, it will fail. Okay? So that's why in order to reduce the discontinuity, sudden discontinuity, we use a fillet. So if we use a fillet, so how the stress concentration factor will change? Okay? First thing, by using a Peterson stress concentration factor, we are going to identify the K value. So the same thing, so we use a D equal to 10 and this one D equal to 5. Okay? R equal to some 1. Okay? Now first thing, we need to identify which curve we are going to take. So D by D value, capital D by small d. So we have D 10 and small d 5. So 10 by 5, 2. So we have 2, right? 3 and near to 2, this one. Okay? 3. I will take this curve. Okay? And then now we need to identify R by D value. R by D 1 by 5, right? 1 by 5.
0.2.
Yeah, 0.2. So where is 0.2? Here. So this curve and the KT value, this comes near to 1.5. Okay? Okay, sir? So this is how we identify the stress concentration factor. Okay. Why?
Why did you use the 3 instead of the 1.5?
So the nearest values, this one is 3 and this one is like 1.5. So we have 2. Okay, the nearest value is either be 3 or 1.5. Oh, 1.5, sorry. I need to take 1.5. Thank you. R by D value, R by 1 by 5, right? 0.2. 0.2. And this one, right? Okay, it comes near to 1.5 only. Now the stress concentration factors on a static load. So mostly the static load on a ductile material is ignored in most cases. The static load on a ductile material is ignored because the ductile material, the strain hardening will happen. The strain hardening is localized. So in most cases we won't consider mostly we won't consider a static load on a ductile material. So these are the reason for those things. So strain hardening. What is strain hardening? Strain hardening.
When you bend the metal and
Yeah.
make it,
What happens?
the structure of the
Beam deforms. The stress in that point will be increased higher than the heel strength. so it won't attain. The material will become more brittle, so it won't go to the elastic deformation stage. It directly goes to the plastic deformation stage. Okay, so because of this reason, they say like a static load on a ductile bed is ignored mostly. Okay. Next, how can we reduce the stress concentration? How can we reduce the stress concentration factor? Because the stress is a serious problem in the mechanical component. So how will you reduce? So if you have a structure like this, what will you do? How will you reduce? We use a fillet. Okay, one thing. The second one,
Increase the radius of the small
so
neck.
I can increase the radius. Good. Then even I can reduce this radius, right? This diameter. Okay.
Make it outline in the corner.
That is fillet. This one, right?
Okay.
Then whatever we do, we need to make the stress flow. It should not stop anywhere.
Change the shape to
Yeah, whatever we do, we should not have a sharp edge or a high stress concentration. That means the stress has to flow. It should not stop suddenly. When you see the cars in olden days, right? How it will be? It's like two boxes, right? Like this, the cars. In 90s, 1998, 1991, the car will be in this section. But what happens now? It's like it's bad, it's okay. You can assume it as a Tesla. Okay? So why? What is the reason?
aerodynamics.
Yeah, because due to the high drag. So we need to reduce the drag. So we need to make it as a streamline. There is no hot spot. That means hot spot means high drag producing sections. If it is a sharp edges, it produces a high drag. The same thing. If we have a short structure in the mechanical compound, it has a high stress concentration. So these portions will be failed easily. Okay. In most of the good structure, they won't have a sharp edges. Okay, but it is difficult to obtain because it consumes a lot of money. Okay, in these cases, this portion, when you consider this chair, this is a sharp edge, this one will easily break. So, because why? It has a high stress concentration. The high stress is accumulated at the corner of this table. Okay, I can say this is a bad structure, a bad design. If you want to make it reduce the stress, what we need to do? We need to bend this one or a curved shape. So it costs high, consume money. Okay? So they say you can increase the radius, reduce the disruption. That means the sudden change in the area. You can reduce that. And allow dead zone to shape flow lines more gradually. The same thing what I said before. Next, the problem. So we are going to see an example. So before going to this one, I have, I don't know you guys know whether know the difference about the pressure and stress. You know pressure? So this is out of syllabus, right? Pressure, stress. What is pressure?